Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by BASF.
Hey, Kara Oosteros here with RealAgriculture.com. We are back here today with another Pulse School episode, and I have here today with me Bethany Wyatt, who is a Senior Technical Service Specialist with BASF. How's it going today?
Very good, thank you.
How are crop conditions? You're in central Saskatchewan?
Yep, that's correct. So a lot of guys in that area are still trying to finish up combining from last year, but last week we had some really nice weather. So a lot of acres got combine, which is nice because it's definitely time to get the 2020 crop in the ground.
Absolutely. And speaking of the 2020 crop, we are here today talking about land rolling your pulses, more specifically lentils and peas, but I guess a little bit of timing and why producers, if they've never grown pulses before, why would producers want to roll their pulse crops?
So the main reason that we're going to want to roll pulse crops is to essentially facilitate for an easier harvest. It's all about making sure that we flatten off the field so that we have a nice level uniform field to work with that harvest. And the reason for that is because lentils and peas, a lot of the pods can end up really, really close to the ground. So when we're harvesting pulses, the header is essentially right on the ground. So what we want to do by rolling is essentially flatten out any of the furrows that were made from the seeding operation, and also want to push any small rocks or stones that might be in the way, just to push them down so that doesn't end up where it shouldn't. Also to flatten out any dirt clumps so that we don't end up with dirt in the sample or earth tag. So essentially that would be why we're rolling, is just to facilitate for a lot easier harvest with these low growing crops. Also additionally, if they're lodged, another reason why you would want to get very, very close to the ground.
So as far as timing goes, when should producers be getting those rollers out in the field?
So ideally, following the roller behind the seeder would honestly be the best bet. Getting it done before the crop comes up is going to be your best bet. But you absolutely can still roll after the crop has emerged. But there is a specific timeline that you should stay in. When it comes to lentils, you kind of want to get it done before that 5 to 7 node stage. And with peas, you would want to get it done before that 3 to 5 node stage. But if you can get it done before the crop is up, that's going to be the best timing for sure.
So what are some of the drawbacks and implications if you do go past that window?
So when the crop is going to be past that stage, it's just going to be a lot bigger. So there's going to be a bigger chance for potentially breakage or yield loss. So it's just nice to get it done and out of the way before you're having to impact that crop, because rolling is a stress on the crop. You're essentially flattening it. So also doing it later in the day when it's hotter or warmer, the plants are going to be a lot more wilted. So they'll flex a lot easier, not doing them first thing in the morning when they're turgid and stiff, because then you can also end up with snapping off or breaking the stems if you're rolling when the crop is already emerged.
And how about weather conditions? Is there too dry, too wet, stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. There would be both of that. So you don't want to go when it's too wet, because that's going to only lead to compaction. And with that, so not only is that going to cause crusting, and then it will make it a lot more difficult for the crop to emerge. Additionally, with compaction and pulses, we know that anytime you have compaction, it can lead to increased root rot in peas and lentils. So not just for the crop to come up, but also increased risk of root rot. So not doing it when it's too wet. Additionally, we don't want to do it when it's too dry or on really light sandy land, because that can increase the risk of erosion. So ultimately, the best conditions will be when you have decent moisture below, but the surface itself is actually going to be dry. You also don't want to go when it's too wet when the plants are emerged, because that can also lead to increased risk of disease. It can actually help spread or facilitate further foliar disease as well.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to tell producers when it comes to rolling any of their pulse crops?
as I had mentioned earlier, it is an additional stress on the crop. So if you are getting getting close to herbicide application, you definitely want to make sure that you're waiting at least a few days in between when you're rolling and spraying herbicide. I would say the more important thing to be doing would be herbicide, spraying the herbicide first if you absolutely need to, as we know that's going to ultimately lead to more yield loss than not rolling at the proper time. So that would be about the only other thing I could add.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.